Hey everybody, Randy here in the Eastwood Garage. Thanks for joining us for another live video. Today I'm here with Andy, and he's going to show us our new CertiFlat welding and fixturing tables. Yep. And if you have any questions, as always, Scotty C's over here to answer them. Scott, how are you doing today?
Not too bad. So I'm back again up here on Facebook, on YouTube. So if you guys have questions, you can certainly ask. And we should also have the guys from the company tuning in to be able to also help out and ask any or answer any questions. So let's go ahead and check these tables out because these things are awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you have any questions, make sure you post them because not only is Scotty here to answer them, also a representative from CertiFlat is going to be on air too, and he'll be able to take your questions, post some answers. So like Scott said, these things are awesome. We brought them in, we assembled this one, then we put this together. The things you can do with them, the fabrication is pretty amazing. So can you go over and show everybody, you know, how they work and what we can do?
What we have in front of us, this is one of the Pro tables with leg kit, which comes with casters. As this comes, it's basically in a box, all sealed together, and then you pull it out based on the instructions, you weld it together. You fixture it in certain ways to make sure it's 100% flat.
This one basically comes assembled. You just have to weld it like
Correct.
that one, right? It came in a crate.
Yep. It's really not even a crate. It's got wooden pieces that are on the outside that hold it all together. You can do the tack welds, you know, as it's all held together with the pieces of wood. But it does come in a FedEx shippable box. So you don't have to worry about, you know, crazy freight costs or anything like that. These are all actually have a like a standard flat rate shipping fee just based on weight. So you don't have to worry about waiting for a quote coming in and you're waiting for this thing to come in 2 weeks later once you finally get a quote. You have a set cost. It gets shipped to you as soon as you click buy.
And this one here is
this is a fab block.
Yeah. Oh, this is a fab block.
Yeah.
As you can see, you can go down over the sides, around corners.
More of actual block structure itself.
Now we have video of this one. Should we check out the video of the assembling quick
let's
here?
Go for it.
Yeah, so this is one that you can see right there's all the pieces that you get.
There's a handful of pieces stacked on top of each other, as you can see there. They are all laser CNC cut. Each hole is the 5/8 or 16 millimeter. As you can see, everything basically just slides right in. And since it is CNC laser cut, you don't have to worry about slag on the sides. Everything has a positive attachment. You don't have to worry about like little pieces and warpage. These are designed and engineered so that when they slide together, they literally cannot warp because you're welded in certain areas. It makes it so it can't pull from one side to another. As you can see, we did some fixturing here to hold it all together for when we did some welding. Got some little U-straps to hold the centers together, and then welded in the designated places based on the instructions. And it comes out from one side to another within 3 thousandths plus or minus, flatness from all the way across.
And the cool thing is, like you see there, we'll get a close-up then later to show exactly how you're welding it. But you weld on the top, I guess, it's to prevent warpage. There's actually spaces where you just weld all around it. And if Joe can get in here and show, maybe get another close-up of where actually the welds are. If Joe, if you can get in close. Oh, whoa. Nice camera work and editing there. Okay, right here. So as you can see, there's all these here, all these areas. Joe up here. So all around it that you just weld there, and then and it goes like you said. You could see it just boom boom. Everything falls together.
It basically comes together like a puzzle. And based on instructions, if you guys are familiar with putting a head on a vehicle, you start something in the middle and you work your way outwards. You wouldn't want to just weld everything on one corner. Yeah. You want to start, kind of in the center and then crisscross your way out.
And the instructions show, and there's videos out there that show you exactly how to start here and work all around.
Yeah, and this isn't your normal welding table. Like we've got welding tables that we've used here for years. And the issue is it's one large flat piece of steel, and it's got some square stock or angle underneath it. And what happens is over time, as you're welding, heat hits certain areas. Or in general, right out of the gate, you actually don't have a flat surface anymore because you're welding from the one side and you have huge spans that there's no backing. Where there's backing, as you can see in each one, there's a spine that goes in multiple different directions. So there's no way for it to actually warp unless you did something really wrong when you were actually putting it together. So this is something that if I wanted to build myself at home, I went out and bought a bunch of sheets of steel and I was going to build these. It would take probably 100 hours to be able to drill all these holes. You wouldn't get it perfectly every time.
The precision holes, 2-inch centers, exactly 5/8.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that.
You would break more drill bits trying to at least even drill these holes. And people ask, well, why do I need all these holes? We're going to get there in a minute just to show you what you can do with these tables, how you can fixture things to them. If you're welding something and you're worrying about warpage, these are the tables you need to prevent that and to actually get an exact fit every single time.
Yeah.
Repeatable fits over
and
over again.
there's all kinds of sizes. So if you're interested in these tables, there's links in the video, below the video. It's going to take you to Eastwood. They come from all different kinds, from 2x3 or 2x2 all the way up to...
You have a 2x2 for the fab block all the way up to a 4x8.
Yeah.
So like the size of a pickup truck bed, you can get...
And every size in between, all kinds of accessories like you can see setting here. Even this right here is actually an accessory. You can add another one on the side, and we'll show you later. You can actually pull this up and set it down and use it as a 90.
So you have fab squares anywhere from the 2 inches wide. I believe this is the 12-inch version, and right here we've got a little 6-inch version. So depending on your project, you might not need a large one. You might need a small one. There's the 2-inch wide ones, there's 4-inch wide ones, there's 6-inch wide ones. So that way when you do fixturing, if you have a really wide project or need to work off the side of a project, you can take any of your fixturing devices, clamp it in, and then keep it fixtured at that perfect 90 degrees. And on the bottom you can see these also come, you weld them yourself. So they come in a really nice small package.
Yeah.
If you do order a table and you order some of these, they just get bolted right to the skid that you already ordered. You can see they're movable. When you do go to bolt them down, you can slide them all over the place.
Yeah, there's holes to attach them to the table.
Yeah, if you really want to get these things tied down, you can sit there and you can use a C-clamp on the edge of a normal welding table. You'd be stuck on the outside. Well, with this,
you go right in the center.
You go right in the center. You just grab a 5/8 bolt, put a nut underneath it, snug it down, and now all of a sudden you've got a rigid 90-degree bend. So if you're taking 2 pieces of plate together, you're taking 2 pieces of box tubing, and you want to run
it's going to be a perfect 90.
It's going to be a perfect 90 every single time. Same thing as the welding tables. These things have the slots, and you have a very specific place to weld that make sure they're at that perfect 90. And you have a 45-degree backer, so if you did want to do a weld and you put a 45-degree there, you could cinch it down that way. And these can be used as an actual square, so if you ever do put together 2 pieces of tubing, like we have here, these are cut at 45s. Not everybody's saw is absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Especially bandsaws.
Bandsaws. If you pull on a bandsaw really hard, that it will actually splay one way or another. So in this case, we have a pretty solid piece right here. All you do is you butt it up. Now you've got your 90. You make sure that you have that. So as you can see there, we'll just fixture those up, and then any of your clamps that you have laying around the house, or you can fab up your own clamps. All you do is just throw them in there. Some clamps you can buy that have just a straight stud that goes down, and what happens is you just tighten it and it kind of bends backwards, and it has a positive attachment. The ones that we have here that we've been using for the last couple days, they actually have a bolt on the bottom, and you can grab another one, do the same thing on the opposite side, and eventually when you're done, you would remove this, your fab square, and you'd have a...
and it's not, it's perfect 90, and it's not going to go anywhere,
Yep.
so you don't have to worry about warpage when you're done.
Yeah, and if you ever want to move to the next piece, you would put this guy right there, you'd grab another, and then you'd clamp it there. So you wouldn't, there's a lot of really, really expensive 3D clamps that you could have. You've got a ton of different pieces here that you don't necessarily need a very, very specific piece. You can morph these everywhere you want.
Yeah.
That's for just the Pro table and these fab squares. You go over to...
move on to this one?
Yeah,
Take
absolutely.
A look at. Before we get here, should we see if Scott has any... We can check in with Scotty C, see if he has any questions yet.
Right now, there's a lot of guys jumping in who already have them and said these things are great and you won't want to ever go back. But the one question we do have is, are they coated with anything, or are they bare and you want to just keep them wiped down from time to time? So
they basically have the same coating that you would get from a standard...
like when you buy steel.
Yeah, when you buy steel, they have that kind of coating on it. What I suggest, before I welded these things up, I basically went over them with acetone. So that way, at least you're cleaning any of that little bit of grease or anything that could have gotten in shipping or handling, that sort of thing, because you don't want to have spatter. And then I wiped them all down, and we used anti-spatter, which we sell, and just basically hose the thing down, did a quick wipe. You do your welding project, that way you don't have the little BBs all over the place. Because if you do want that perfectly flat piece every single time, you don't want to be resting it on a weld BB for when you MIG weld it. So we just use our anti-spatter and make sure it's clean every time. Just wipe it down acetone and then redo it with, or I say pre-painting prep. Make sure you use low VOC. That way, if you heat it up down the road, you don't have any
contaminants.
Yep.
And like Scott said, there's a lot of people saying that that they have these and they really like them. If you do let everybody know or post pictures of some of the stuff you've built, or how you have it configured for what you're fabricating, because we'd like to see it here. We'd like to share all the stuff that can be built with them, because they are pretty amazing. I mean, really, when you start throwing all the attachments on, it's amazing what you can build and how exact it is. So should we take a look at this one then? Yeah,
let's jump over to the fab square. So the different, or fab block, I should say, the difference is where this is your normal table. If you don't buy the leg kit, you can just pop this on your current just workbench. As long as it's not a wooden workbench and you're welding off of it. You could put that on your workbench, fixture off of it, and then when you're done, take it off and then do other jobs. This, you could also do that, but it's got a little bit more weight to it, a lot more sturdy just based on the construction. And now instead of just having a flat welding table top, you've got sides that you can then utilize. So if you want to do an outside corner joint, you grab your two pieces and you can fixture just like that. You have a positive 90 degree every single time. So you do an outside just flat joint. If you do a full-blown 3D corner joint, you could work on the outside here.
If so you could build around the corner, and you could come from here, around the corner, around that corner, or down.
Where you're getting that 90 degrees every single time, and you don't have to worry about warpage, because this thing's going to take the brunt of that once the thing cools. Honestly, don't just weld it crazy on one side, and you're going to have warpage regardless, because when you pull the clamps, it might still move.
So you could basically build a table almost around just using the corners, top, corners, legs.
And just like with the fab squares, you put that thing on, and it just becomes more and more versatile every single time. These are also modular. So say this unit right here is 2 foot by 3 foot. My garage, I'm using my home garage. Eventually, I grow into a bigger shop. I buy another 2 by 3 or whatever size I want, and you just bolt them together. So you can go longer, you can go wider. And also, if you don't have the room and you want to be able to put this thing away every night, what you could do is you can buy the fab wings, which is what we have right here. This is just a 4 foot or 36 inch by or a 24 inch table, and you add a 12 inch extension to it. These come in 2 foot pieces, 3 foot, 4 foot, all different sizes depending on the table you have. So you could add one to the side here. You could add a 3 foot off to the side here. You can add another 12 inch off the side here. So you can make your table as large or as small as you want it to. And then when you go pack it away at night, if you've got the casters on it, all you do is you just pick them up and basically just set it up here. So instead of having to push a large table around and put it into a specific corner, you actually have a side piece that you can then press up here, which you can also use that as a fixturing device also. So if you have multiple welds down a straight line, you take your fab wing off, you bolt it up to the top, and now you have your perfect 90 again, with multiple different ways to fixture, whether it be on the sides, the top, or there's actually holes all the way on the wood edge here.
So you can go the whole way around the side.
So this entire system is modular. You can buy leg kits, and
these have levelers.
Yep.
We actually have it level now.
Yeah, so it is a large nut and bolt down the bottom where you turn them, where that's not necessarily just because your garage is not flat. I mean, I know mine's not. Mine's off kilter, so if you ever did move this somewhere, you're going to find that it's going to be a little bit crooked, it's going to move a little bit. So you just turn those bolts to the bottom. And also the fact that if you're really building something that needs to be true, you make sure that the table itself is 100% flat to a level. So you can jack one side up, one side down to make sure that it's going off by level. If you're doing tube work, that sort of thing, it makes it easier when you're doing bending to get those the perfect bends every time if you're working off a level surface. So you can do that with this.
And you can drop down, like you were just dropping bolts down through to hold, like you have to hold stuff in place.
Yeah, so if you ever want to do another true 90 where you don't have to worry about fixturing, honestly, we just have 5/8 bolts here. I just put 2 in here, make sure they're all against the flat side. Grab 2 more, and we're just going to put them in strategic areas just depending on where we would want. And now we've got a perfect 90 as it sits.
Yeah.
You would want to fixture those down, but you don't necessarily have to. If you're just trying to get a rough estimate of what you want, you literally just put these in, take some quick measurements, do some tacks, and now you have a little prototype. You don't need it to be perfect every time, but this gives you a really good rough start of where you need to be.
And right away, you put this in to work, making a prototype of a possible new product. It's actually sitting over here on the floor. We'll get a shot of it in a second so you can see. So maybe you can tell us what this is exactly.
So we developed some tool steel dimple dies a couple months back. They've been really, really popular. And the whole idea behind dimple dies is to add strength. So this is not a complete 100% done product yet. But as you can see, it's just a little prototype. And in order to add strength, we added dimple dies on the sides. And to get an idea what this actually is, if you've ever used a press, and especially dimple dies, if you have a large sheet of steel and you go in to do a dimple die in the center of the actual product or the piece you're working on itself, you have a 20-ton press and you've got 2 I-beams on one on both sides. Depending on the throat of your press, you can only get in 20 inches. So now I'm to the point where what am I going to do if I have to go in further than that? I can't. So this is basically going to be an open throat press. We're going to put a 20-ton hydraulic ram on the front of it. And that way, so when you work on it, you can show this over here, Joe. This eventually will be up on a workbench. You'll be able to work to the center. So the only thing that's slowing us down is the depth back here. Otherwise, you have a full open area. So these welding tables helped us fixture everything up, make everything square. We used our little fixturing devices and a bunch of other little pieces to make that right.
And we have some footage of that. We can cut through, show everybody how you fabricated this up from just some steel. If we can go to that here. Oh, there you are, Andy. That's not live actually. That was recorded.
So the whole idea here is to just make something as strong as humanly possible because you don't have both sides to be able to take the brunt of it. So we made sure that we're using 1/4-inch steel, lots of gussets, and using the dimple dies. When it comes down to it, if you ever taken a flat piece of steel, if you bend it over something, it can flop all over the place. Until you start adding dimple dies, you're adding a 3rd dimension to that piece of steel. It adds substantial amount of strength. You're actually having less material, so you're getting lighter, and you're adding strength too. So when it comes to race car parts, dimple dies are a big thing for roll cages. And this prototype, if we get some pretty good feedback from some guys, it's a possibility we might bring it to market.
Because we're going to have a video showing, well, we have the dimple dies over here. We'll cut, Joe can show them to you. They're at Eastwood too if you want to. And like you were saying, the cool thing is it makes the part lighter, but it adds a lot of strength.
Yeah.
So you were sort of creating this concept for a new press so you could use 4 dimple dies. So you had to use a press to make the dimple die to hold the press together so you can make dimple dies. I like that. I like that. I like the way that worked out there then. But that's really cool. Yeah. So if you're looking for dimple dies to do, especially for like you said racing, it's and we'll have a video coming out on pretty soon as well.
But when it comes down to it, the tables made it possible. I could have sat there and struggled through on a flat table trying to find a way to work on the edge and using a C-clamp. It's much easier to use a table like this, get it right in the center. And when it comes to TIG welding especially, having your elbows resting on something and being able to work in the center of a table, and these things are the right height too. A lot of times guys have a 36-inch table, they're bending over the entire time. These are a little higher. And that way when you are sitting in a normal everyday stool, your arms are up here and you're comfortable. You're welding better because you're comfortable. And you're able to fixture.
And you can do whatever, like you can go around the corners, you could use these other attachments here, like basically just about anything you can think of, you can fabricate it here.
And like we said,
perfectly.
Incredibly strong base on the design. The spine's going both ways. Everything just meshes together perfectly. Welded together fairly easy. If we weren't filming while we were doing it, we probably would have had this table done in an hour. That table...
Yeah, Joe held us up a lot.
Probably 20 minutes for that table and took a little bit of time to do the legs and everything. But the legs also snap together with the tab and slot design also. They're all laser cut, on a lathe.
And it is perfect when it goes together. And then it just goes together and just
you just do some tack welds. The material actually holds itself together. And we did a bunch of extra welding just for, extra strength and,
Yeah.
and getting some welding practice on these tables.
we
But they go together incredibly easy. DIYer all the way to the
Yeah.
full-blown professional fabricator. I know there's a lot of pros out there that have some of the larger tables or even the smaller ones at homes.
Yeah, there's no reason to be afraid of assembling these.
No.
I mean, after I saw the way they go together, how it shows you exactly where to weld, work from the inside out, jump
Once you
around.
price out material to actually make one yourself,
Yeah,
go
and
buy
you never
one.
get the precision.
Yeah, you're never going to get like what you're seeing here. So
So
go to Scott for any
we'll go over to
questions.
see Scotty C, see if we
Yeah.
have any more questions.
People still commenting away how much they like these tables, even more people hopping in. So that's a good thing to see.
Yeah, tell them to post pictures.
Exactly. Post pictures what you guys have. Put them on our Facebook page, stuff like that, so we can see it. We can repost it, and, give you guys credit.
We're going to have a text line too soon. Maybe we should post that on this video.
There we go.
So if anybody has any videos or pictures, yeah.
What's the number?
Yeah, I don't even know my own number.
Well, anyway, while we're here, the last question we have is the thickness of the top of the table. We may have covered it. I may have missed it while I was reading.
Fab blocks
Yep.
are 1/4 inch, and then your pro table is the 3/16. So that's a little bit lighter duty. It's meant for more of the guy doing the homework.
And you're basically just working on top of this one too. This one you could work
Correct.
all around it.
Yeah. The whole idea is if you're doing more fixturing, you want a little bit thicker material there for the actual like a positive engagement for your fixturing devices. So these are a little bit thicker, and you endlessly add. You can add pieces to them, different fixturing device. You go on Eastwood.com, learn about them. There's drawings on the website there to get better dimensions and ideas of how big these things are.
Yeah.
We've got everything there with video, and the tab and slot guys have been very, very helpful for us to set up this program. Hopefully we'll have some Eastwood exclusive stuff coming down the pike
Oh, that'd be cool.
and be able to develop stuff that if we hear from you, we relay to them and we'll be able to offer it. And
I'm sure as we use them, we'll come up with more ideas. too.
absolutely show some prototypes in the future and kind of grow that relationship and offer you guys,
Yeah.
what you need in your shops.
Any more questions in, Scotty?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Andy.
Appreciate
and, we're going to have a video out on these, maybe do some projects on them in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so when we release the videos, you're going to be the first ones to see them. And I guess I'll see you again in a couple months.
Great.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.